Yes, the roadmap.
Oh,
And what's next on the roadmap?
but what
The map
though?
of the road.
The map of the road.
But what? To what?
To our path to the stars and the future.
Ooh, the future of?
Wagtail.
Oh, surprise.
Baptiste, do you know why Wagtail is called Wagtail?
It's because it's the only bird that uses roads, which is why it needs a roadmap.
Oh no. Is it? Do you know, Sage, why it's called Wagtail?
I think it was originally going to be named Verdant or something because
Yes.
of the color scheme. It's green, right? It used to be green dominantly, but it sounded like verdant. Sorry, verdant sounds like vermint and rodent. So we settled on Wagtail. Well, I wasn't there at the time, but apparently it's the type of birds that would appear outside of Torchbox's office. Torchbox being the creators of Wagtail. So yeah,
Voila.
and that was more than 10 years ago now, apparently.
Beautiful. How long have you been doing Wagtail, Baptiste?
I've been doing Wagtail for a while. I think at least 6 months.
Wow. One of those new
I've only
people on the
started
scene.
uh, working with Wagtail when I joined Torchbox uh, in February this year. So it's been fairly short for me. I think I'm amongst experts here that know a lot more about Wagtail than I do.
Take
But
it as a
you've been
compliment.
working with Django for a lot longer.
I have been using Django for way much longer than 6 months for sure.
Do you know how we manage our roadmap for Wagtail?
No,
Okay, let me introduce you to our roadmap. Woo!
Ooh.
You mentioned Django. Wagtail has a fixed release schedule like Django. We release once every 3 months, so 4 times a year, which is pretty tight. But I guess it makes lots of sense to us to bring improvements like very incrementally like that. And yeah, I think uh, part of the reason why Wagtail is picked by people, why people find it compelling among other CMSs, is that even though it's open source, there's a pretty good cadence of new improvements coming to it, as well as maintenance. And the roadmap specifically, we at Torchbox tend to make lots of suggestions for it. We also look at community-driven projects like Google Summer of Code. It's a very frequent addition to the roadmap. And then we put together a big RFC, which is a request for comments with all those proposed, I guess, topics of focus, highlight features for all of the upcoming releases. And the RFC, the idea is it's a format that people understand that anyone and everyone can make comments on. I don't know, Baptiste, if you've looked at Wagtail RFCs before, or maybe the Django equivalent, depths. Do you like to review those kinds of things?
no,
It's tons of work.
yes. It's a type of work that I don't feel I'm very good at, so I tend to feel more comfortable in a pull request review for code rather than a dep or even an RFC.
Yeah,
But
same.
sometimes I think it's interesting to see the opinions of people who have left the comments. So you might not have anything new to say, but it's still interesting to see the discussion.
Yeah. Some of them are really, really deep and thorough. So you do require to be in that kind of same mindset to make the most of them. But the good news is for the roadmap updates, it's much shorter. Uh, those roadmap items here, they're only defined in about 4 or 5 lines, maybe a bit more for the new ones. So it's really more like on a high level understanding of what makes things compelling than the details of the implementation. So it's more about the direction, I suppose, the vision.
Ooh.
than exactly how the road is paved. Uh, yeah, and I guess why we're here today is because we've just updated the roadmap for the next two versions of Wagtail, due to be released in February and May. Um, yeah, there was five things on the roadmap for February, and four for now in May. There's still some room for that to change. Some that we were trying to get sponsorships for, and some that need other contributors. I think we need to find more people to work on them. Um, should we go through the items of the next release in order?
Let's
Sage,
do
you want to
reverse order.
reverse order AI checker
Ooh.
concepts? Actually, I'll skip this one. It's too intense. Let's do block settings and then get back to the AI. Sage, we
Ooh.
love block settings. Tell us about block settings. Why do we want this?
Why would you want to block your settings?
Why would you want to block your settings?
Yeah, I sometimes think about like how ambiguous that wording is, but I think in the context, once you see the context, it's pretty clear. So in Wagtail, the editing interface can be uh, built out of what we call blocks. It's powered by string field, which underneath is JSON field. So it lets you add flexibility to how the page editing experience is built. Um, and yeah, the way we build the blocks is it basically consists of fields, right? And in some cases, people may have blocks that are not meant to be the content that you see itself, like the text or something, but instead you have blocks that control how that specific block is displayed in the front end of the website. So like you might want to give the editors the ability to change um, maybe like the font size, but not necessarily letting them sound like any arbitrary font size, but you have a predefined set that follows your design guidelines, or maybe like the color scheme of that specific block. Again, not giving the exact colors for the not giving editors control over the exact colors, but it's all predefined by your developers according to your design um, guidelines. And currently, if you have such blocks, it's so Wagtail has no distinction, which means they're just going to be displayed along with the content blocks, which um, it works, but could be better because in some cases the editors don't really need to configure those. Maybe the defaults are good enough and they just want to focus on the content, and having those settings blocks in the same form without a way to hide them can be a bit distracting. Um, so yeah, in this, well, we're looking at a PR here, but um, yeah, the feature itself is about letting you mark such blocks as settings so that Wagtail will collapse them by default. And if you want to use them, um, you can show and hide those blocks specifically. And I guess another um, point of view to this thing is to allow you to group multiple blocks under a collapsible panel without necessarily having to refactor your blocks into like nested blocks, which means you'll have to restructure your data and do migrations. So if you already have existing blocks that where the content lives alongside the settings, and you just want to change how it's displayed in the admin, um, yeah, it might be useful to do that. So we're trying to um, well, I don't want to use the phrase "kill two birds with one stone" because we're friendly to
Oh
birds.
no,
So we want to feed.
we don't do this in Wagtail.
Yeah, we don't do that in Wagtail. um, yeah, we want to feed two birds with I don't
One
know.
feeder.
One worm,
One
one
worm.
early worm.
Well, I feel bad for the worm.
Yeah, that's.
But I don't want to say bread because apparently you're not supposed to feed birds with bread as well. So
Hmm.
with one seed, I don't know how you can share the seed for two birds. But
With one
anyway,
fruit.
with one fruit, okay, I can get by that. I
Doesn't
can get
doesn't
by
have,
that.
yeah. Yeah, we have the requests for those features have been there for years, if not decades at this point. A lot of people will be elated to see this when it comes out in 7.3. We have 861 worth of seeds or fruits or birds to feed, depending on how you count it. So it's really useful when you connect the dots like that over the years. And um, yeah, it
Can I
looks
ask a
like you're,
question?
yeah, for sure.
So Wagtail ships with a series of blocks that people can use out of the box, right? You don't have to always implement your blocks. Did you find that by making this new feature, you were able to already use it in Wagtail's code? Or is this only something that enables people who write their own blocks to use?
Only their own blocks. Because just like I think Django's built-in fields, Wagtail's default blocks are really low level, really meant to be the foundations that you build other things on. The content model itself in Wagtail is really up to the site implementers to decide side by side. Maybe we'll find more opinionated blocks to add these to in the future. Um, but yeah, those types of settings sometimes we try and encourage people not to have them at all, just have fewer decisions to make in the CMS. So you have to be careful introducing things like these by default.
But we do have one example block that where we have some opinion, which is the new image block that we added recently, so that images have to be accompanied with an alt text, or you mark it as decoration.
Yeah, this is a really cool project. I was just showing the public version of the roadmap on our website, but behind the scenes in GitHub, we can also see the whole history and image block improvements. There's been one recent improvement where we really wanted to be more opinionated to get people to better alt text and more accessible images. Um, Images that might sound like a really simple feature, but there are lots of nuance in how you render them and how you structure the data that actually make it quite good, I think, for us to be more opinionated. Yeah, this is the behind the scenes roadmap for people who haven't seen this before. If you want to see what's happened over the past few releases. Anyway, really cool. I'm sure lots of people will love this. I see there's some love for the feature in the chat from Dan Braggis, who says, looking forward to this. Settings, layout, oh my. I think lots of people will feel the same. And with that, we'll move on to our AI checker concepts, which Baptiste, you really wanted us to talk about next. This is much fuzzier as a feature. There's not been decades worth of requests for AI checker concepts. Surprise, surprise. Um, but we think it makes lots of sense to work on this. When I say work on this and it being on the roadmap, just want to be very clear that all those AI features, they live outside of Wagtail core. We have no interest in adding AI dependencies to the core package. They will be for us to implement in our Wagtail AI package, which is completely opt-in. And there might be changes we have to make in Wagtail core to support those types of customizations, but they wouldn't be AI dependent. So here specifically, it's iterations over some of our recent AI features. Over on the right side of this UI, we have content feedback. And right now, the AI package only supports one feedback prompt for the whole site. We felt like it would guide people towards better, higher quality content if we made it possible to define multiple types of feedback in there and request which feedback you want at different points in time. When you're close to publication, you might really want to get an accessibility check or an SEO check. You might not really want to have the AI tell you again about your tone of voice, how good it is or not. And yeah, underlying capability in Wagtail is being able to more easily retrieve the page content that powers those features. And that could be really useful whether your custom checks are AI based or not AI based. So for example, if you wanted to integrate with an accessibility checker, you can go much further if you can retrieve the whole of the content in a good format. And readability checks, like the one we introduced in the last release, this readability good here, there's room for much more advanced checks if you integrate with bespoke tools rather than our very simple built-in formula. Do either of you have questions about this?
Not necessarily questions, but I think,
More of a
um,
comment?
yeah, this will also mean you will be able to trigger the accessibility checks on demand, right? Instead of it being automatically run. I think it could also be useful for like integration with the preview panel, where you have multiple screen sizes. Um, yeah, at the moment, the accessibility checks is only rerun when you update some things on the page, but you might have different type of layouts, and you want to check for the accessibility issues um, for different screen sizes, so you don't have to update the page if you have that button to just rerun the checks.
Yeah. And AI wise, we definitely have some really strong opinions about exactly which types of AI use we think is good for us to aim for. And it's really essential that the CMS user is in control of exactly when the AI is used, not just have it run in the background without them even knowing, without them having any awareness of how much AI they're using. It's this human in the loop thing at the bottom, them deciding at what point they want the review. For accessibility, we had chosen in the past to do it whenever for much simpler checks where there's no AI involved, grass fed accessibility checks. But for the AI variants, we need more control. Baptiste, what do you think?
This seems interesting. The I'm not sure. Maybe that's an obvious question for someone who's more well versed in Wagtail, but this type of panel on the maybe it's not panel. This type of sidebar you have on the right side. So that's injected by the Wagtail AI package.
Yeah, good question. So um, this side area, we call it a side panel. The side panel itself, that comes from Wagtail Core. Content metrics come from Wagtail Core, and we've just started to make them customizable at the barest level. And then content feedback below, that would be from the AI package.
So you did have to create some kind of system where third-party app could customize the Wagtail's own side panels.
Yeah, exactly. So um, we spend a lot of time with Wagtail trying to decide exactly how we want to support customizations. Some customizations is really very low level, as in like you have to override Django templates. People know how to do that, but it's really time intensive. And some we create much higher level APIs that go straight to a specific type of business logic. So now what I'm screen sharing is SEO power tools concepts. Those concepts predate AI, and we really always envisioned that there'll be some room to customize live checks that go beyond just like data validation in the CMS, but exactly how we make this information available, how we make users able to trigger those checks, that's still in flux, as you can clearly see. So then the big question for us comes to the UI. It's actually quite tricky in our experience to get package developers to create bespoke UIs like this. So we have to make some really hard choices on which UI components we do in core for the benefit of those fancier packages. I see a question in the chat. The AI checker, can it be integrated with local AI API like Olama? Yes, definitely. Is very important to us that you can use any AI provider, any AI model with those providers, and open source AI in particular, and that developers who want to try this out don't have to go for one of the big services. So Olama definitely built-in support. It's just simple as configuring the endpoint. Personally, I use LM Studio, and these days I'm looking at the equivalent from Microsoft. I think it's called Forge Local, just because that has supports across all operating systems, unlike Olama and LM Studio. Okay, we'll move on in the interest of time. Do you want to go still reverse, right to left? Do we talk about autosave or llms.txt? Baptiste, what do you prefer?
Let's do model search improvements.
Perfect. Model search improvements. I know less about this one, so I'll be much briefer. We have been wanting to improve Wagtail's search for a while. Lots of people would like to see search improvements, but there's a big but. Those search features don't come for free. They're really hard to maintain. And this has primarily been a refactoring so far. We've introduced this new package called Django Model Search. When I say we, I don't get to take much credit for this. It is almost entirely the work of two Wagtail contributors, Carl Hobley, who built this initially outside of the Wagtail ecosystem, and my Torchbox colleague, Gasman, Matt Westcott, who has been supporting those search features in Wagtail itself. And they spend time moving those features to a separate Django package that isn't Wagtail dependent, that Wagtail then reuses internally. And I guess the point there is those features are available and useful on lots of types of Django projects, not just Wagtail specific. There is very little in how the search works that has to be Wagtail specific. And we wanna, it really helps to move to a separate package to maintain the code better. But I guess the next step, coming back to this roadmap item, would be to have more of those advanced search features within that package for us to reuse in Wagtail. This is really vague right now as a roadmap item, just because we don't really know how much time those things will take, and don't really want to commit to any specific improvement at this time. Just, more work within that area. Is that a fair explanation, Sage?
I would say so, yeah. Yeah, I think the bulk of the work was done in the last release for separating it out from Wagtail itself. So this is one of those packages that we split out so that the wider Django community can benefit from. And I think it would be interesting if there is any interest in the Django community for like ideas on how to improve the search mechanism.
Yeah. They tend to be really popular, actually, those packages that aren't like Wagtail centric that we have. Model cluster being one of the big foundations under how Wagtail works. Willow being a wrapper around our image processing. And yeah, Query-ish as well, kind of an opinionated way to emulate the query set API for other data sources. And I mean, even Wagtail AI, now we have our Django AI core package, right?
Yep.
That is meant to be as a kind of generic foundation for how you add AI features on Django projects, regardless of them being Wagtail or something else. Baptiste, any comments about the place for those packages in the Django ecosystem? Do you know about search outside Wagtail? How this is done and how much improvements
Yeah,
there is to
I
be
actually
made?
did some work on a client project a few months back where we had to go quite deep in the internals of the search to add some support for a feature. And I think having a separate package where we could potentially have this feature live is great. In a previous life, I used to maintain the website of a popular Python web framework called Django. And I think this type of library could be very useful because search is one of these tricky. It sounds simple, but when you want to do it at a reasonable scale, and when something like Django has kind of a long history, it's a very old website with lots of content in different types of formats, different types of models. Wagtail search, I feel, sits at the right level of abstraction for doing this type of thing. Just for reference, for example, here in this search, you see this Django website tab at the top of the search. This is a very, very new feature that was implemented by a combination of Sarah Boyce and Tim Schilling and many contributors that lets you search the content of the site, which wasn't possible before because our search was built as a documentation search originally. That's all you could search is the documentation, but there was a growing need for wanting to search other things. And I think Wagtail search or Django model search rather could enable us to make more things searchable in kind of a nice generic way. So I'm excited for this.
Great. Um, yeah, I want to say one more thing on this, which is that um, even though this roadmap item is already there, again, it's really like open-ended. So those roadmap items, we definitely encourage people to go in there and add comments in the GitHub issue and give us the feedback on exactly in which ways this could be helpful. So when I say give us the feedback, even like describing a use case for a package like this, for work like this, like you just did, that's really helpful feedback because then us, when we have those discussions about the features, we can refer to those use cases and it makes it heaps easier to reason about what to do and the value in it. Okay, two more and we'll speed up a bit. Autosave MVP. Autosave has long been on our list of desired features. It's just the idea that you no longer have to manually decide when to save drafts. You no longer have to worry whether your content is going to be saved or no. You no longer have to worry about your session expiring. Just as you type, naturally, it saves your data, so you don't have to worry about losing it. And we are expecting it to make it much easier for people to work directly on their content in the CMS, much safer if they have any worries about losing content. We all, I think, have lost content to badly implemented web forms at some point in the future. And even the well implemented forms, all it takes is your connection flinching for a bit, and then you lose what you poured your heart and soul into. So yeah, just makes lots of sense. And with it being called MVP, we've had a long autosave journey on the road of the roadmap, on the map of the journey of the road of autosave. This is just one step, and it takes a lot of time to get there. But yeah, the big goal for us will be concurrent editing, like multiplayer style in the CMS. Does that make sense? Okay.
It's kind of like the rest stop on the way to the destination.
I
You're
like that.
getting some snacks, putting in some electricity in your car,
Recharging,
yeah,
yes.
bathroom break.
Last but not least, llms.txt for docs. Have you both had the chance to
Speaking
play
of
with
bathroom breaks,
llms.txt?
Say again, sorry,
Have
Thibaud.
you had the chance to play with llms.txt files?
I haven't. I've been reading about it, like mentioned here and there a few times, but I've never actually played around with it and see
Yeah.
it any different, if it makes any difference.
Well, it does. We're really blessed by the AI gods in the Django and Wagtail world. We're really lucky that they've slurped all of our grass-fed content, all the books that have been written about Django, all the Stack Overflow questions and answers that people have poured their heart and soul into, because AI is really good out of the box as Django because of all of this, as well as, you know, the AI models learning how the Django project does engineering. The result is Django people get good results without any effort. But if you really want to try to get your AI coder assistants to work with the Django 6.0 features, to work with the latest Wagtail features, it's going to work 10 times better if it has direct access to your docs for the latest versions. And the way to do this is llms.txt. So basically Sage for block settings, if you want to speed up adoption of the new feature, which will definitely help people. they'll have a much easier time if the data is available in this kind of LLM friendly format. So that's the goal, I suppose. Um, Allow people to have better results with their coding assistants. Um, I don't really know how much we want to encourage people to vibe code their Wagtail sites, but I definitely like the idea of those new features. We spend a lot of time curating, refining, making it easier for people to adopt them. Um, for something like the Django 6.0 release notes, I don't know how you all manage your Django upgrades. Take some time to review the release notes and make sure that you know exactly what might change. LMs are really good at doing a first pass of that. You give it the release notes in Markdown, and it gives you exactly like a report of what you might be wanting to consider. Um, so yeah, I guess for Wagtail, we want to have it as a feature of our developer docs and of our user guide website as well. We spend a lot of time uh, curating the content of the guide, organizing it into different pages. But I think the reality is lots of people who use Wagtail, they only use it like maybe an hour a week, maybe an hour a month as a stakeholder. Will really help them to have quicker access to information on how Wagtail works. And we're hoping that some kind of AI integration, like obviously again like an opt-in optional integration, will help those people get to the information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Just yesterday, I was trying to test the log settings feature that I worked on, and there are just so many different combinations that it can be used. So I just fed an LLM the documentation that I wrote, and asked it to test all the different cases. And yeah, especially for like generating this, just you know, test projects, it was really useful. I'm not, I can't speak whether it would be any good for real life projects, but I guess with better documentation, it might be even better.
Yeah. And hopefully it helps the humans steering the ship too.
Yeah.
And that's it for
No,
February.
the
Oh,
car metaphor,
Baptiste.
Thibaud. No, sorry, it's not a ship. The ships don't use roads. It's a
What's the
bus, maybe.
metaphor then? Is it a bus? Are we on a bus?
It's a
Or a train?
boatmobile.
Both mobiles. um, yeah, February, that's the roadmap. We do have a few other features coming up. Gonna give a shout out to a couple of them while we're here. Baptiste recently did the right thing and took his, I guess, longing for a feature to the best logical step in open source, which is to upstream the changes. Hooks for settings, you wanna tell us a few key bits of information about that?
Yeah, essentially, it's like the same hooks that snippets have, but for settings. Only when it's relevant. So snippets have a lot more hooks because you can create a snippet or edit a snippet, but settings you can only edit them. So essentially, they have some hooks that weren't there before. Um, Makes it easier to customize your settings edit page in the admin.
I don't know how I feel about the after edit being documented before edit.
You have to take that up with the English language. It's alphabetical.
Oh,
Mm.
it's a good reason, but ugh, it hurts. Nice one, Baptiste.
After,
That's really cool.
before,
It would be the
before.
same problem in French, so we have to find a different language that sorts
Oh,
the word before before the word after.
it's a really nice thing. I think it's been a long-term theme for us, and when I say us, probably you, Sage, more than anyone, to get the features we built for pages in Wagtail initially, and then replicate them to other types of models, with the snippets and arbitrary models being like the obvious target, but also settings as well. Like we released preview support for settings, thanks to
Yeah.
work from Sebastian Corban not so long ago, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so really great to see this.
And
And
it's a testament to what you're saying. This was actually very easy to implement. I think there's more documentation than code and more tests. The code itself is just a few lines because of the way that it's structured, where everything essentially uses the same Python views underneath. Yeah, that's the code. You know, it
wow,
was it was very
that's
easy because of this work of extracting what was page specific to something more generic and then can be reused. I think that shows you the payoff of that.
So class-based views is the go.
That's one of the power of classes. They're easier to extend than functions, but they're also easier to make it a bit of a mess.
yeah.
But
Stay
maybe that's
class.
a subject for the next one, like hot text functions versus class. That's a long debate in the Django in the wider Python world.
I like that idea. All right, I'll just shout out one more to wrap it up. I think something that I really liked with this pull request as well was just, again, with how little code it is, it's definitely easy for people to not realize that if they get up to speed with open source, they can make those improvements that they'd like to see. And it turns out it's not that much work at the end of the day if you have been in that mindset before. And a similar one is our file size for the AVIF image format, which is one of those modern formats we support as of like about a year ago now. And someone saying like, "Hey guys, it's just way too big those images. Why is the quality configured like that?" And I'm hoping we'll be able to lower the quality for equivalent results for real world users and much lower file sizes in the next release. And that's thanks to the research that's been happening in this GitHub issue. So still some decision to be made there, but yeah, really promising as a feature that will, as a change that will ship in the next release, even though it's not on the roadmap. And yeah, May soon after, and maybe we'll discuss this next time. And with that, thank you, Baptiste. Thank you, Sage. It's been fun.
Thanks,
Any
bro.
parting thoughts before we leave?
I don't have any parting thoughts.
Sage, what about you?
Um, yeah, I just want to say thank you for anybody tuning in and all of these like pull requests and issues. It's not only for us to discuss, but also for you. So if you have any interest in all of the things that we talk about, or like if you have suggestions for future releases, be sure to post something on our GitHub, and maybe we put it on our roadmap.
Love that. GitHub issues, definitely a good place. GitHub discussions, if it's more open ended. Social media, very happy to help people like triage towards the right discussion venue. Don't worry about it. Any place is good. And yeah, if you want to keep tabs on those features outside the roadmap, just be aware of what's shipping when. Quick plug for our sponsor, the Wagtail newsletter, wagtail.org/newsletter. And with that, thanks. It's been fun.
All right.
Thank you.